A warm welcome to Talk Solent, where we'll be discussing news in our Solent region and some national subjects too. We'll be discussing 8 fascinating articles this evening. I'm Jonathan Hines, and joining me on the sofa, giving us their opinions and expertise, are Neshla Avey, a clairvoyant medium and teacher from the Fareham area, Cameron Simmons, a university student, and Leon Rice of the South Parade Peer Trust. Now, Winchester University academic Professor Norma Dakin and arts charity ASOP have begun a study to assess the impact of arts and creative pursuits on the recovery and management of physical and mental health conditions. Most people would agree that artistic and creative activities will impact very positively on people with various health conditions, but this is the first time a national framework has been set up to collect evidence nationally and about this impact. So, is enough importance attached to artistic and creative pursuits for people with long-term illness? Now, we know we need to reduce... Do apologise, that wasn't scripted. Do you think that, you know, we underestimate the importance of these sort of activities for people who are managing or recovering from various illnesses such as cancer or dementia, for example?
I think it's probably very useful to know how much benefit different things make to different people with different conditions. However, it might also be yet another study into the bleeding obvious. Because it strikes me as completely obvious that having an outlet and doing what you want to do and being creative and saying what you want to say is going to be good for people. I actually have experience of this. I don't know if your viewers know that this studio is in South Downs College in Portsmouth. But in 2001, I was a director of a .com as the .com boom ended. And I got a bit depressed after that because I was in my mid-50s and going from lots of money to unemployed wasn't good. And I came to art classes in this college.
Right.
As a result of which my wife said to me, "Oh, those are good, those drawings, you can sell those." And I looked at them and I thought, no, I can't, but I can publish other people's stuff. And that's, I now run an art publishing business. And I had an art gallery in Portsmouth Dockyard. So it certainly worked for me.
And Cameron, do you think this is just something which should be obvious? Do you think this is something that a university can do more work into?
Well,
more study of?
Well, yeah, I mean, art's always been sort of a subjective thing. It's always been something that people are emotionally driven to do. It's less fact-driven. I think, as you said, it's obvious we need to have an outlet. You know, we can't just be working all day like drones, you know, and having an outlet, like whether it's playing an instrument or sketching or just any form of art form, is, well, good for you. It must be, you know. If it makes you happy, it must be good for you.
And this is really detailed because this most people would realise that, but this study is looking to evaluate the extent of this impact and how much these activities affect somebody who's not very well. What was your reaction to this one?
Well,
Neshla?
as I say, but it's been proven, hasn't it, that art is a creative outlet is good for anybody, whether they're mentally ill or not. It's just you can switch off and just get involved in the colours and just the time just flies. And it's, you know, as I say, it is important. And as you say, music, anything creative really helps us switch the mind off. And so obviously it's something to focus on rather than your illness, I guess.
Or, of course, writing.
So any creative thing really can help.
It might be, I suspect that the most benefit from a study like this will come for people with conditions like Alzheimer's, where measuring what exactly might work could be of great value.
Yes. And it'd be interesting to see, this article is fairly generic. It'd be interesting to see how exactly they are going to measure this or quantify this. Very complex, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know more about how they're going to do that. So maybe we can touch on that again in the coming weeks. So that article entitled "Researching the Benefit of Arts on Health" and well-being. Now, we know we need to reduce the amount of waste going to landfill, but what about drinkable pure water that has been derived from road sweepings? Sounds different, doesn't it? A Hampshire firm, R&W Environmental, have won the water treatment category in the Rushlight Awards for 2015-2016 for the £250,000 treatment facility in Hursley, which provides vast quantities of drinkable water and renewed topsoil which can be reused instead of going to landfill. This, it is hoped, will be something replicated across the UK as well. Now, surely anything which reduces the amount of landfill waste has got to be a great thing, hasn't it? Because, you know, surely at some point we're going to run out of landfill space.
Yeah, and it's just another thing that's being recycled, which is good. I always think that one of the things that are wrong with council recycling schemes is that Council A recycles this and this, and Council B doesn't, but it recycles that and that. And it's all, nobody recycles everything. And, you know, I've got children who have 8 bins outside their house to put different stuff in. It's madness. There should be one bin, and the council's job is to take everything and work through it and recycle it.
Which is the way it used to be, isn't it? It's got just in the last few years there seem to be more and more bins. Yeah.
So recycling road sweepings and turning it into soil and turning the liquid into drinkable water is fantastic.
Yeah. Now we know that our water, before it comes to us, before we drink it, has been, well, it's millions of years old, isn't it? And it's been everywhere, and it's been cleaned and re-cleaned so many times. But imagine, you know, the water that you're drinking has been purified and derived from road sweepings, Cameron.
Yeah, if you told me that my water came from what is essentially a pothole, I wouldn't believe you, and I probably wouldn't drink it. But it clearly works, and you know, we need to do a lot more to help the planet. You know, global warming and all that, and a lot less landfill. You know, more needs to be done, and a lot more needs to be done, and you know, every little helps. So
because these are 2 things that we take for granted, don't we? We just expect it to be there, clean water coming out of the tap. If it didn't come through the tap, we wouldn't understand it, would we? But that had to be cleaned and purified before it reaches us. And the same with landfill. You know, we put things in the bin, and we don't, you know, they get taken away, and we don't really think about where it's going to go, or not in any detail anyway.
No, it's the packaging, isn't it? All the wastage we've had over the years. Before people were aware and running out of landfill areas, we've, as I say, just used so much stuff we didn't think about it. Whereas now we're much more aware. We can do a lot more, and to save it getting worse and worse. And there's a lot of biodegradable stuff. And so yes, that is a great idea. But as you say, it's the thought of where it comes from. But we don't know where a lot of our stuff comes from. It's best not to know, you know.
Helen Sharman, the British astronaut, was on Radio 4 today, and she was talking about being up on the International Space Station, and the water they output was recycled, and they end up drinking it again and recycling it, and because there's nowhere to get fresh water from up there other than so.
No, that's right, and it's just thousands of times it's been recycled, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the planet is a big recycling machine, really.
Yes. Yeah. And these landfill sites, they also look pretty horrendous, don't they, when you do sometimes see them on TV. I'm thinking, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking we have to run out of landfill at some point, surely.
Or
can
you
they
can
just keep going?
make it higher. I mean, the 2 hills at the start of the M275 into Portsmouth are landfill sites that didn't exist before, and now we've got 2 very attractive hills.
Now, Cameron, you're at Portsmouth University, and what are you doing at the moment at Portsmouth University, and what are your plans?
I'm studying TV and film production at the moment.
Yeah. And today's your TV debut.
Yeah. I must admit, I'm used to being on the other end of the camera. It's a nice change. Yeah, well, I'm quite keen on documentary and filmmaking and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to hear local stories and hear everyone's opinions on it.
Yeah, and what's been going on in your field of activities since I last saw you? I think it was December we last saw you on here, Leon.
Yeah, oh, not much, just snoozing along really as I get older, but I can tell you a wonderful proud grandpa story. My little granddaughter Isabella, who's 7 and weighs 24 kilograms, 2 weeks ago she went up to the Midlands and won the British Championship in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a major type of martial art. And she was in the 24 kilogram junior class, so she's only about this high.
And 7 years
she's
old.
She's little, yeah. She was fighting other little kids, and she won. And she's got a British champion in the family, so.
Yeah.
But I know that every other grandpa or granny out there's got a story equally good about their wonderful grandchildren.
Yeah. Coming up very shortly here on Talk Solent, after the break, we're talking the rising cost of dying and regulation of taxis in Hampshire. Back with you again very shortly after this.
With my poor credit, I felt toxic.
Finance companies were asking very high interest rates.
Couldn't afford it.
My only option was an out-of-warranty used car for cash, or so I thought.
I called Wheels for Sure. Week later, I had a lease for a brand new car.
All manufacturer-backed and upgrade to a new one every 3 years.
I felt valued. Too good to be true? No, simply true.
Used car on a costly loan or an affordable new leased one, you know the choice.
For sure.
Click or call Wheels for Sure on 0800 044 5806 now. We can help.
So, what's the best thing about knowing that Sure compressed deodorant does actually last as long as a big can?
I can use my flatmate's can of it for weeks before she'll suspect anything. Yeah, that was me. Sorry.
Try compressed and join the 9 million women who've chosen it. Sure, it won't let you down.
The best defense is defense. Use everything you have to protect your alliance. Join me and strike. Mobile Strike. Download and play now, free from the App Store. The best defense is defense. Use everything you have to protect your alliance. Join me and strike. Mobile Strike. Download and play now, free from the App Store.
I want to cuddle a koala.
Go to Antarctica.
Go to a music festival.
Learn to dance.
Stay above ground a bit longer.
Whatever you want to do, make sure taking out the LV 50 Plus plan is on your list. It pays a cash lump sum when you're gone to help towards funeral costs and final bills. You'll be covered immediately for accidental death and for death by any cause up to just 12 months. If you're 50 to 80 and live in the UK, you're guaranteed to be accepted and there's no medical or health questions.
Learn to play the piano.
I want to be her friend forever.
Premiums start from £7 a month, and we promise the amount you pay will never go up. The amount of benefit your family could get starts from £1,000 up to £25,000. What's more, you'll love that you're with the UK's most recommended insurer. There's a choice of welcome gift after your plan starts. LV have been providing peace of mind for millions of people for over 170 years. Now with our new improved rates, put the LV 50 Plus plan on your list. Call today on 0800 163 153 or go to lv.com/wish.
Welcome back to Talk Solent, the programme where we discuss the biggest news stories of our local patch and some national ones too. I'm Jonathan Hines and we've got 8 articles that we're discussing this evening. Joining me are Neshla Avey, Cameron Simmons and Leon Rice. Now, the cost of dying is in the news with huge and rapid increases in funeral costs. In just 1 year, cremation-based ceremonies have risen some 10% and burial ceremonies some 4%. There are also huge variations according to what region of the country you're in, with total costs ranging from £2,500 right up to some £8,000. Funeral poverty, as they're calling it now, is now an increasing phenomenon, and there have even been cases of people taking out extortionate loans to cover costs and only some applications for social services, paupers' funerals, are agreed. So why are these costs rapidly increasing? Simple supply and demand with an ageing population and rising death rate is one factor, plus another one cited is the growth in privately owned crematoria. So how can we be better prepared and plan better for these costs so as to soften the blow and lighten the financial burden? So who wants to comment first on this one?
I was going to say, I've had a funeral last year for my mother-in-law.
Right.
And I think we had to pay about 6,000 in the end.
6,000?
Yeah. Luckily, she'd taken out a plan, so she'd sorted it all out. In fact, the only thing she didn't do is sort out the hymns, but we got everything else as she wanted, which was wonderful.
Right.
But I was really shocked at the cost. Really shocked. I just didn't realise it would... and that's just literally the funeral. Then we've got obviously all the other stuff afterwards, but it did cost a lot of money.
And the variations, for example, in Northern Ireland, some £2,500, but Greater London, anything up to 8,000. That's shockingly on, isn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose it reflects the cost of space, doesn't it?
There is that.
If you're going to be buried, there's a cost to it, and the land you're buried in is going up in value in London in particular. It's extraordinary.
But 10% in a year.
That's high, isn't it?
I was very interested in that story to read that the cost of a burial in the earth is now cheaper than the cost of a cremation. And that strikes me as mad. That is crazy. I can't, I think there's greed going on here. So more people are dying, so they need more burial services, so they stick the price up, and it's wrong.
Right, because this article taken from the Telegraph talks about a bit of the old profiteering.
Yes.
10% in a year, and a lot of people are not prepared at all, or haven't even thought about it, and some people might leave it to social services. But there's no guarantee that they'll cover what they call a pauper's funeral.
No. When somebody's dead, it doesn't really matter to them, of course. It's the funerals quite often for the living rather than the dead. Both of my parents died and were buried before I knew they were dead. I was a boy when my mum died, 9. And my dad died when I was 19, and I didn't know about either of those until after they were buried. It was nice to go to their graves. I went once, and I remember them now. Without it, I don't need to go back.
And Cameron, probably you haven't thought about this before, not yet. But these figures, does it surprise you how much a funeral can cost? Just the basic parts of it.
Well, I'm quite an avid history fan, and like years and years and years ago, like funerals were, well, further back you go, they used to be free, and as we've come along, they've got more and more expensive, and today it seems that people just capitalising on other people dying. It's just, funeral should be a way of saying goodbye to someone you love in a respectful way. Capitalising on that by raising prices just seems a bit, seems wrong,
They are very important. I never got to cry at my mum's funeral, as I say. When my mother-in-law died about 15 years ago, I couldn't believe how stricken I was at the wake. I just went into a room by myself and cried for a couple of hours, and I'm sure I was crying for my own mother, who I'd never said goodbye to.
Right.
One thing I would say, it's really important for children to go to funerals. They shouldn't be hidden from the death, because they know it's happened when they don't see the person, and if they don't see them go, they need to they need to understand that they have gone. So.
Yeah, now 59% of people approximately made provisions to pay for their funeral. So that's just about 60%. And 84% had put aside enough to cover the whole cost. So quite a high number of people are prepared, aren't they? But that's still 16%, or 16 in every 100 that wouldn't have anything in place.
thing is, not everyone can afford to put money aside for a funeral, can they? And as I say, there's all these funeral plans you see, and it's again, it's something you can't avoid, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the problem. They can get away with it, the costs.
And plus, the older you get, the sicker you're going to become, and that instantly means you've got more medical bills and costs and for hospitals and stuff like that, and that money you've spent your life saving up for, it quickly starts going down. So, you know, by the time you start thinking about funerals, your money's starting to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I doubt that there's any old person who would like to see their children impoverished by having to pay for a funeral either. My wife's parents' ashes, we wondered what to do with them. They used to have love trysts before they were married in a hotel in Brighton. So I have to admit that there is now a residue of ash in the carpet of the reception area of that hotel, which I scattered on their behalf.
Well, a lot of people don't want people to be miserable at their funeral, do they? A lot of people request that people celebrate their life at a funeral and not make it morbid. And I know my grandmother always said, please, I don't want people in black.
No.
You know, and you think, well, why should people be wearing black at a funeral? How is that good or respectful?
It's very Victorian, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, anyway, completely moving on, very diverse, this show as always. Is it time to simplify taxi regulation? Not tax regulation, but taxi regulation. There is currently a two-tier system, one for Hackney carriage drivers and one for privately owned independent drivers. If it's a Hackney carriage cab, the driver can pick you up whenever or wherever you flag him or her down, whereas a privately owned independent one has to be booked in advance, therefore the driver would be fined for breaking the law, picking you up without a booking. The case in Southampton of drivers Ravinder Roth and Manjit Singh has sparked a debate about reforming the system so that the same rules apply under one system for both types of licence holders. So should you have to book certain taxis in advance? And should drivers be fined for picking anybody up without a prior booking? What do you think about this one? Do you use taxis, Cameron, from time to time?
Yeah.
Can you afford it at the moment? Probably not.
Every now and then, you know, as a little treat.
When we're desperate, yeah.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere that system was originally established in the 1600s or something, and if it hasn't changed much since then perhaps it's due, you know. And plus, is there any difference between the two? The person turns up in a car, picks you up, takes you somewhere else? I mean, they both sound pretty similar to me. Yeah.
The problem is that the people who have got taxis you can flag or catch at a rank on demand have invested in that as a business proposition. Yeah. They bought their plate.
Yeah.
And if you change the rules over from a system that has worked for so long, as you say, 1600s, if you change the rules, then at a stroke you're wiping out their investment for no particular reason. And it seems to me that the system's worked pretty well for all that time. And you do know that a greater amount of regulation is applied where it's needed. So the thing you want from a taxi is A, to get you from A to B, but also to know that you're going to be safe. Now, I've got daughters and grandchildren and a wife, and I want to know that they're going to get out the other end in the state they got in, and the regulation is there for that purpose. So I'm all for the regulation we've got.
That's amazing, isn't it? In the 1600s, the Hackney carriage originates from the company and the regulator. Yeah. What do you think about this one, Neshla?
Well, again, I used to, quite often for my work, I used to travel up to London, and I'd book a taxi in the morning to pick me up from home, but when I came back, I never knew what time I was coming back, so I had to just get one in the rank at the station. And I remember once there was a guy, there was no one in the rank, they'd all gone, and there was a taxi over the other side, and I went up to him, and he said, oh no, I'm a pre-booked one, someone's ordered the taxi, so I have to wait. And I was waiting for about 20 minutes or so, and I went up to him and he just said, I can't, I'm not allowed to, I'd love to, because my ride hasn't turned up, but I have to go back rather than, or wait for my next call rather than give you a lift, which was a bit frustrating for both of us really. But as you say, safety, I've done the same with my children, you know, if they're coming home late from somewhere, I'd book a taxi to pick them up so I knew they were in a safe taxi, because you just hear so many stories, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying all taxi drivers are bad, but you just never know, do you? So.
No. And yes, so there are two different types. There's the independent, self-employed ones. Well, they're all taxi drivers are self-employed, but the Hackney carriage ones work. All their jobs come through that company, whereas the independent private ones go by bookings. Yeah. So yes, they're looking to have one rule for both types. So we'll see what happens with that. Excellent. Now, if you've got news that you think we should be talking about, then do contact us on our email. That's talk@solent.com. Back with you again very shortly with more fascinating subjects for discussion.
I want to cuddle a koala.
Go to Antarctica.
Go to a music festival.
Learn to dance.
Stay above ground a bit longer.
Whatever you want to do, make sure taking out the LV 50 Plus plan is on your list. It pays a cash lump sum when you're gone to help towards funeral costs and final bills. You'll be covered immediately for accidental death and for death by any cause up to just 12 months. If you're 50 to 80 and live in the UK, you're guaranteed to be accepted and there's no medical or health questions.
Learn to play the piano.
I want to be her friend forever.
Premiums start from £7 a month, and we promise the amount you pay will never go up. The amount of benefit your family could get starts from £1,000 up to £25,000. What's more, you'll love that you're with the UK's most recommended insurer. There's a choice of welcome gift after your plan starts. LV have been providing peace of mind for millions of people for over 170 years. Now with our new improved rates, put the LV 50 Plus plan on your list. Call today on 0800 163 153 or go to lv.com/wish.
With my poor credit, I felt toxic. Finance companies were asking very high interest rates.
Couldn't afford it. My only option was an out-of-warranty used car for cash, or so I thought.
I called Wheels for Sure. A week later, I had a lease for a brand new car.
All manufacturer backed and upgrade to a new one every 3 years.
I felt valued. Too good to be true? No, simply true.
Used car on a costly loan or an affordable new leased one, you know the choice.
For sure!
Click or call Wheels for Sure on 0800 044 5806 now. We can help.
The best defense is defense. Use everything you have to protect your alliance. Join me and strike. Mobile Strike. Download and play now, free from the App Store. The best defense is defense. Use everything you have to protect your alliance. Join me and strike. Mobile Strike. Download and play now, free from the App Store.
Julia, Winston Wolf.
Yeah?
You were on your way to Marcia's hen party when you took a hit from a couple of wise guys.
Nightmare.
About your car. Does it smoke? Make a noise?
Yeah.
Call Direct Line. They'll arrange a hire car.
Won't have to wait for mine to go in for repair.
Not with Direct Line.
Oh,
What about us? Are you with Direct Line?
No.
Then on your bike, Buster.
Welcome back to Talk Solent with myself, Jonathan Hines. Joining me on the sofa this evening are Neshla Avey, Leon Rice and Cameron Simmons, who's a university student in Portsmouth. Now, do we take our volunteers in the UK for granted, and do we give them the praise and public recognition they deserve? Well, at an awards ceremony at the Great Hall in Winchester, around 18 people from a diverse range of charities and community groups were recognised from across Hampshire. So, should we be recognising our army of voluntary workers more, and should we show more appreciation than we do? What do you think, Neshla?
Well, the thing is with volunteers, they're not looking, obviously, for recognition, but I think it's nice to reward them. They do a lot of work for the community, and I think it's nice to have a recognition, really, whether they're expecting it or not, you know.
Or at least publicly.
Yeah.
Now and again.
Yeah, because a lot of people put a lot of work and have done it for years, you know, volunteering, doing things. So, yes, I think it's nice for us to appreciate their hard work and time.
Cameron, do you think our volunteers don't necessarily want to be noticed or recognised?
They probably don't ask for it, but I think in some ways they're entitled to some recognition. I mean, you hear loads of stories about these famous people, like celebrities doing work and stuff like that, and they're obviously going to get the attention, but the local heroes, they sort of slip under the radar, which is a bit of a shame. It's nice to have some recognition for them.
Well, that's right, yes. I mean, and obviously they're going to be pleased with that, but they wouldn't necessarily be looking for it. Well, the charities included Charlene Kennedy and Billy Murphy from the YMCA Newtown Youth and Community Centre in Southampton, who helped develop and decorate the previously abandoned building. Meanwhile, staff from Eastleigh-based Rape and Sexual Abuse Survivor Centre were also commended for their service, and it was Lady Louisa Portal who handed out the certificates to the 11 individuals from 7 community groups for their work. Should there be more ceremonies like this, Leon?
Yeah, I
in the
think
press
so.
as well?
Yeah, the more recognition that the volunteers can get, the more publicity that their causes get. And I think most volunteers aren't looking for public praise for themselves, but would kill for publicity for what they're working for.
Very good point.
Yeah.
And I know, for example, they say that our hospitals would really struggle without the volunteers, which is quite a poignant point, isn't it, really?
Yeah. There's a guy called Mick Lyons at QA who runs the Rocky Appeal. He's now earned the hospital millions of pounds in donations through just organising fundraising events. It's amazing what he's done.
Yeah.
He came and talked to our East South Sea Neighbourhood Forum about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Right.
And to do that, the day he's scheduled for an operation himself, and the day before he came to talk to us, we would have had 200 people in the audience. He was rung up with a cancellation for his operation, and he refused it in order to come and not disappoint the 200 people in our audience.
Yeah.
And he's typical of a lot of volunteers.
And that's what you would call self-sacrificing, is it? Possibly even to a fault.
Yeah.
Self-sacrificing to a fault.
Yeah, I think he was crazy, but he's a good man to be, even if crazy.
And what about all the charity shops that we're used to seeing on our high streets? I mean, every high street has many charity shops, and you see the people that work in them really want to be there, and they're really fulfilled, you know, in a different way, I suppose, from if you were being paid, but we can't imagine a high street without the charity shops, and they wouldn't be there without the volunteers, would they?
Yeah, that's right, and there's lots of different ones, and as you say, if you want to volunteer for a charity, you can take your pick, can't you, to whatever you believe in or feel passionate about. It's nice to be able to choose and go and work in that particular, you know, even as you say, working in a charity shop.
And it's good for the community as well, giving back, because majority of students buy from charity shops because it's nice and cheap and easy.
Yeah.
And so
I think there's much more choice for women, though, isn't there? There aren't so many nice men's clothes. There's much more fashionable women's clothes sitting in charity shops.
No, all the women's clothes I've bought from charity shops fit me perfectly.
But it is true.
When I was at Brockenhurst College back in the late 90s, there were some girls who were always fantastically dressed, but not just sort of high street fashion, but they were a bit different, you know. And I remember one girl saying, you know, it all comes from charity shops, and I was amazed at that, inspired, you know.
But I think these, you know, a lot of women, not so much now, but a lot of people used to fashion very important too, especially sort of younger people, so they buy a lot of clothes and then throw them out. There's nothing wrong with them, so they tend to, you know, give them to a charity shop. At least they've got, you know, can get some money out of them, and they're still as good as new. I mean, I've done it myself in the past. I've still had labels on stuff where I haven't worn them, and at least I think, oh well, at least they go to the charity shop that's giving them some money to the charity. Whereas I think if, like my husband, he'd wear things till it fell to pieces. So I don't think even the charity shop would want
I think
them.
I need some new slippers, actually. I think there's barely any sole on my slippers at the moment.
One of my sons tossed out several pairs of unworn jeans, you know, designer label jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't understand it myself.
And because so many fashion 80s and 90s looks are coming back now, I think even the 1990s fashions are already back round again. I've seen some, you know, 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds wearing clothes that resemble sort of like mid 1990s styles, and they're already come back round in just 20 years.
Well, Converse are like 80s, and you know, they're quite popular these days, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's all sorts. No padded shoulders yet, though, are there?
Oh no,
They're coming
thank
back.
goodness. I remember wearing those.
Everything comes back because the fashion industry needs to give you something new.
Yeah.
And
Circulate everything.
as there isn't anything new to give, they
Rehashing
just
it.
have to rehash it.
Yeah.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know.
Right, now let's move on to the island. We always like to talk about the island each week. Are profiteering ferry companies making the cost of getting to the Isle of Wight unmanageable, and should travel to and fro the island be cheaper? According to Mrs. Wardrop of Cowes, in a letter to the Isle of Wight County Press, she says we need to take a lesson from the Australians in this regard. She recently revisited Phillip Island near Melbourne, which has a Cowes too, and an Isle of Wight hotel, which she stayed in, and says that the island has a much larger amount of tourists and visitors, despite being smaller, with less attractions and less tacky souvenirs, she also said, in her view. And in her view, this is because there is no financial deterrent to visiting this island, like there is here. She says the island could have an injection of much-needed income from more tourists if ferry prices came right down. So are the Isle of Wight ferries tariffs too high, and would it be a great investment for the island economy if they were brought down? What do you think? Leon, you know a bit about Australia. You were in Australia for the first 20 years.
And I grew up in Australia. And I've been to Phillip Island. The reason it gets all these visitors is because thousands of fairy penguins come ashore at night
she mentions
and lay
this.
their eggs. And it's a fabulous place to go and see. I recommend it. I went to the Isle of Wight twice last year with friends, and we had a great time. It's a very beautiful place. The cost of the ferry is completely astronomical for the distance. And you compare it to the fantastic super liners almost that run the ferry services between the islands in Greece, or used to. I can't understand why the ferry price is so high. It's exorbitant.
Well, I did a quick bit of
damage their tourist industry.
Yeah, I did a quick bit of research because it's a long time since I've been to the island, just to see what we're talking about here, and it's about £6 something for a single. So for 1 foot passenger, it's about £12 something from £12 something. So it could be more.
Yeah, but
than
if you're
that.
taking a car, it could be 60 quid. Just for, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all going to add up if you work on the Isle of Wight as well. I mean, 60 quid, that's quite a lot of money, you know.
I mean, obviously there'd be season tickets, weren't there, and group tickets, but still,
I think the
£12
people who
something
live on
was
the island have cheap deals to come to work on the mainland.
I'd be interested to know more about that. And apparently, Whitelink was taken over last year. Was bought by Balfour Beatty, which is obviously a giant. So it's now under fairly new management. So yeah, I mean, maybe if the prices were half that, it would seem a bit more reasonable, wouldn't it? £3 or £4 one way. For what is, I know from Portsmouth city centre from Portsmouth to Ryde is about 20-something minutes. So you wouldn't, £4 or £5 would sound about right, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
£3 or £4.
And they would probably be flooded.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's with the prices. You'd go more often if it was cheaper.
Sell them cheap,
Especially
stack
if
them
you've got a
high,
family,
as they say.
You know, and you've got quite a few of you going over there. It could cost quite a lot. And then you go school holidays, summer, the prices go up again,
Yeah.
don't they? And you know, you tend to avoid it, really.
So this could be good for the island economy if they made that investment.
Of course, yeah.
In the long term.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, £12 something return, that does seem like a bit much. But you mentioned the penguins at
Phillip Island.
Phillip Island, and in the letter here she says there are 16,000 pairs of little penguins who come ashore nightly to feed their offspring in the coastal boroughs. But this nightly viewing is strictly organised.
Yeah, basically you have sand dunes and a small stretch of sand, and then there's the waves, and these little penguins come along and they lay eggs in the sand between the sand dunes and the sea.
Yeah.
And you can see them hatch, and you can see them feeding them, and it's fabulous. I don't think the Isle of Wight's got anything quite like that.
Of course you wouldn't be biased, would you?
Well, no, I'm not biased. I know that the Isle of Wight hasn't got any penguins.
No. Coming up, we'll be talking more local news, and if you have news that we should be talking about, then do contact us on our email, talk@thatsolent.com, or send us a tweet on Twitter account at thatsolent.tv.
With my poor credit, I felt toxic.
Finance companies were asking very high interest rates.
Couldn't afford it. My only option was an out-of-warranty used car for cash, or so I thought.
I called Wheels for Sure. A week later, I had a lease for a brand new car.
All manufacturer-backed and upgrade to a new one every 3 years.
I felt valued. Too good to be true? No, simply true.
Used car on a costly loan or an affordable new leased one, you know the choice. For sure! Click or call Wheels for Sure on 0800 044 5806 now. We can help.
The BT 50% knockout deal is now on. Get a thumping introductory offer of £5 a month on BT Broadband Plus. That's 50% off if you buy before the 22nd of December. With BT Broadband Plus, you'll enjoy a massive 50GB of BT Cloud storage and peace of mind with BT Net Protect Plus for your 12-month contract. You'll also be able to connect when you're out and about with the UK's largest network of Wi-Fi hotspots. And if you order online by the 7th of October, you'll get a £75 Sainsbury's gift card. Don't miss the BT 50% knockout deal. Switch to BT today. Call 0800 002 002 or visit bt.com/knockout.
Julia, Winston Wolf.
Yeah?
You were on your way to Marsh's hen party when you took a hit from a couple of wise guys.
Nightmare.
About your car. Does it smoke? Make a noise?
Yeah.
Call Direct Line. They'll arrange a hire car.
Won't have to wait for mine to go in for repair.
Not with Direct Line.
Oh,
hey, what about us? Are you with Direct Line? No. Then on your bike, Buster.
How Sif broke the curse of streaks. The princess cleaned and cleaned, but horrid streaks cursed her bathroom until she summoned Sif, Power and Shine. Sif banished all the limescale and streaks. For 100% streak-free shine, there's always a beautiful ending with Sif, Power and Shine.
When it comes to finding the one, it's a lot easier when you're looking in the right place.
Rediscover online dating with elitesingles.co.uk.
Hello, you're watching Talk Solent with me, Jonathan Hines, and my guest this evening on the sofa, Leon Rice, Neshla Avey, and Cameron Simmons, who's a university student from Portsmouth. Now, most of us will have enjoyed a drink or two and maybe a meal at the famous Wetherspoons pubs, famous for its very reasonable food and drink. Its founder and owner, Tim Martin, has announced that increases in the national minimum wage to the new living wage have caused a drop in the company's profits, with 2 wage increases over the past 18 months, equating to a total 13% increase in wages. On a different note, he has also come out in favour of a British exit from the European Union and warned George Osborne about any further increase in taxes, which are an increasing burden on the pub industry, he says. Now, surely better wages come before profits, or is 2 wage increases in 18 months too much for companies? Now, who's the best one with economics? All economic matters.
Well,
We'll start with you, Leon.
I think that paying a decent wage to somebody, whether it's a student or a pensioner or just an ordinary working person, is a basic requirement. And,
yes.
I noticed that the profits drop at Wetherspoons is not as big a percentage as the increase in the wages. So, excuse me. So I don't have a lot of sympathy. They're still making 36 million quid a year, and they're the biggest landlord in the country as far as I'm aware. So they do offer a good service. Part of that is because they've got good staff who are trained properly. They operate a good business.
Yeah.
I don't think they should begrudge people a decent wage for doing something.
No.
£7 an hour, which I think is the minimum wage now or thereabouts, is not enough for anybody.
Well, they run 954 pubs. Pre-tax profit slipped 3.9% to 36 million in the 26 weeks to January the 24th, compared to a year ago after 2 recent pay increases. Yeah. Neshla, what's your reaction on this one?
Well, I have experience. My son works in hospitality. He works runs a bar in a hotel rather than a pub. But I know the hours he puts in, and I know they really deserve what they get, quite honestly. Because I just think, you know, all of us go home from work at 5 o'clock or the normal 9 to 5 job. I know sometimes, you know, they stay open until 2 or 3 in the evening when the last person's gone. I know they've been on their feet all day. I think it's important that they get paid their worth.
It's very hard work, and the quality of your night out in their pub depends on those people.
Definitely. You've always got to be in a good mood. You've always got to be happy and smiley, and even if you've had a hard day.
And you have to control the drunks.
Yes, yes. So it's quite a responsibility, actually.
It is.
I wouldn't like to do it.
Are you one of those people that needs controlling on a Friday, Saturday night?
Probably on the other side of the bar.
I've actually been on both sides of the bar. I once worked behind the bar.
Oh, you all right?
Yeah, and I'm very keen on being on the other side, having the drinks.
Yeah. Wetherspoons is great, isn't it?
Wetherspoons is
always
great.
Perfection,
yeah,
I find.
It's good service. It's just well managed.
Yeah.
And it's the amount of times you get that customer that's just like not polite or just not as nice as they can be. You always have to smile. Always have to, you know. There's never a moment where you can just like relax and go, we didn't like him. You've got to keep that constant customer service.
Yeah.
And Wetherspoons is always so efficient. You get your meal very quickly. It's well balanced. You know, it's extremely reasonable. Everything's always lovely and it's cosy. You know, it's never dirty or anything. I think it's,
yeah, I think they're entitled to earning more than the minimum wage. It's a very trying job. And
now we know pubs are struggling at the moment, and a lot of them are closing. There's an array of taxes that Wetherspoon pays, including VAT, alcohol duty, corporation tax, gaming machine duty, landfill tax again, and a climate change levy. So that's Tim Martin, hoping that George Osborne doesn't increase any of those. What do you think about that, Leon?
They always tax the things that people use. It's really simple. They're not going to tax the things you don't use because they're not going to make any money. If Wetherspoons uses all those services, such as taking away all the bottles and cans and putting them into landfill or sorting them out and recycling them, then they should pay that tax. I don't see why not. Everybody else does, probably, in the supermarket, so why shouldn't they? You know, tax laws are for everybody, and if that's what the law is, I'm not saying that those taxes are right, but if that's what it is, why complain?
And of course, you know, every company has to make a profit, doesn't it? You know, a sensible, reasonable profit. And it's balancing, I suppose, the wage increase with a reasonable profit. But then how do you define a reasonable profit? I mean...
Well, 36 million doesn't strike me as a rapacious profit for a company running how many pubs? Several hundred?
954.
1,000 pubs they're running, and they're making 36 million quid. Well, that's not too bad, is it? And they're offering a good service. Good luck to them.
It's interesting that the article brings Brexit into it, and that Tim is for Britain coming out of the European Union. that's sort of added on to the end of the article. And he said, as those Eurovision songsters Bucks Fizz memorably put it, it's time for making your mind up on Brexit, says the founder of J.D. Wetherspoon.
Yeah, making your mind up about what is the question, isn't it?
I think maybe he's just trying to make people, I don't know, pay more attention and be a bit more decisive about it, and maybe not so undecided, I don't know, so that they know what they're going to vote. Some people are.
It's interesting that the people who are most passionate about leaving the European Union are a sort of minority on the far right of British politics, including on the far right of the Conservative Party, and a lot of the rest of the population are not so interested in leaving the European Union. There's this big question about sovereignty. Well, everybody cedes a bit of sovereignty, as somebody pointed out on the news today. Being a member of NATO means that you have to act collectively. And I don't see that the things that the European Union do to us are as bad as is being made out. I mean, clearly there are a lot of stupidities in the bureaucracy of the European Union, like the massive waste of money on the agricultural policy, for one.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we have come through as members of the EU as possibly the best performing economy in the world, coming out of the crash of 2008, and they are asking us to give it up for some promise that we'll be better off. Well, there isn't. I'd like to see the proof. I haven't seen it yet.
Right. Now, to conclude this evening, Swami Agnivesh in India has recently published a punchy book entitled Applied Spirituality, which says that religion and religiosity need to be replaced with spirituality, and that religion and spirituality are far too often two separate and quite different things. He's scathing of religion and the hostilities and greed that it breeds, in his view. He says that religion is on the way out, and interfaith between all religions is the way we're going. So is he too critical of religion, and is religion as we know it on the way to being replaced by spirituality instead? Are they not the same thing? What's your reaction, Neshla, on this book that's just come out?
Right. Well, I haven't read the book, but like anything, as I say, I did sociology, and I remember discussing religion and how the different types and how it's changing. But when you boil down to it, it's all the same belief, really. It's just, you know, in a different umbrella, if you like, and a few little different things. But I think more and more people are, rather than just following a religion that your parents have and whatever, they're actually taking a bit out of each one and deciding what they like. But again, spirituality is different. It is sort of crosses over. But I think there's more and more people are becoming more spiritually aware than they are following a strict religion.
Religion on the way out, Cameron? What do you think? What's your reaction to that?
Well, I'm sort of agnostic, so I'm not I'm not religious, but I'm open to it. I don't really think religion's out of it. And you said that like religion's sort of breeding what's the word I'm looking for? Hostility.
Greed and hostility and fighting and.
Yeah, well, religion's always been sort of. People seem to mistake it as a belief when it's more of like a ideology. It changes the way you sort of live, and a lot of people think that becoming more violent is because of a religion. That's never the case. Prejudice is taught, not sort of prejudice is taught for like family and friends and your upbringing and stuff like that, and education, not through religion. You know, I think religion's just. I think blaming hostility on religion's a bit. Too easy of an answer.
Leon, does religion need to give way to spirituality?
Why would anybody be against organised religion? I mean, all it's ever done is burn people at the stake, hang, draw and quarter them, blow them up in the Middle East on a daily basis right now, cause a mini world war that's sending zillions of people to try and find safety in Europe. I agree with you. There's very little between the religions in terms of their actual dogma, and it's the application of the little differences that make them evil. Yeah, I do the Christmas tree every year in my wife's church. Okay, I'm very happy to help her. I'm very pleased that she's a spiritual woman who goes to church. My grandchildren, some of them are being brought up in various aspects of Christianity. I personally am agnostic, but I think it's a good ethical thing, except for the organised part of the religion. You know, I think teaching ethics is, you know, being nice to each other and respecting each other is the basis of it, and all the bits that have been added on, which make you different from him and you're different to me, and let's kill each other. I mean,
well, that's all we've got.
It's evil.
Yeah,
that's all we've got time for this evening. My thanks to this evening guests, Neshla, Leon and Cameron. Talk Solent returns tomorrow at the same time. Thanks for watching. All the best. Have a great evening.
See, that's the one we couldn't sort of
A rare and beautiful tiger, trapped by vicious steel cables, slowly dying. WWF's anti-poaching patrol found her barely alive, with deep wounds from the tightening snare, killed for profit. Another victim of wildlife crime. There are as few as 3,200 tigers left in the wild. By adopting a tiger with WWF, you can help stop their painful and needless deaths. Adoption costs just £3 a month, and you'll be supporting our vital work to help protect tigers. We'll send you an exciting adoption pack showing you how essential your help is. There's even a cuddly toy tiger. If you know someone who cares about tigers, adoption makes a great gift. Please call 0800 038 0890, text PROTECT10 to 70099, or visit tigerprotect.com. Adopt a tiger for just £3 a month and help us stop wildlife crime. Thank you.
Julia, Winston Wolf.
Yeah?
You were on your way to Marcia's hen party when you took a hit from a couple of wise guys.
Nightmare.
About your car. Does it smoke? Make a noise?
Yeah.
Call Direct Line. They'll arrange a hire car.
Won't have to wait for mine to go in for repair.
Not with Direct Line.
Hey,
what about us? Are you with Direct Line?
No.
Then on your bike, Buster.
I want to cuddle a koala.
Go to Antarctica.
Go to a music festival.
Learn to dance.
Stay above ground a bit longer.
Whatever you want to do, make sure taking out the LV 50 Plus plan is on your list. It pays a cash lump sum when you're gone to help towards funeral costs and final bills. You'll be covered immediately for accidental death and for death by any cause after just 12 months. If you're 50 to 80 and live in the UK, you're guaranteed to be accepted, and there's no medical or health questions.
Learn to play the piano.
I want to be her friend forever.
Premiums start from £7 a month, and we promise the amount you pay will never go up. The amount of benefit your family could get starts from £1,000 up to £25,000. What's more, you'll love that you're with the UK's most recommended insurer. There's a choice of welcome gift after your plan starts. LV have been providing peace of mind for millions of people for over 170 years. Now with our new improved rates, put the LV 50 Plus plan on your list. Call today on 0800 163 153 or go to lv.com/wish.
With my poor credit, I felt toxic.
Finance companies were asking very high interest rates.
Couldn't afford it. My only option was an out-of-warranty used car for cash, or so I thought.
I called Wheels for Sure. Week later, I had a lease for a brand new car.
All manufacturer backed and upgrade to a new one every 3 years.
I felt valued. Too good to be true? No, simply true.
Used car on a costly loan or an affordable new leased one, you know the choice.
For sure.
Click or call Wheels for Sure on 0800 044 5806 now. We can help.